What about influence on American music? I know this is a big topic. It's hard to really.
I mean, this music is specific. If you talk about in broad terms, of course, all music that came from the African American tradition came from West Africa. But like Ewe, I don't know actually, because it's pretty specific.
I mean, I know that Steve Reich actually went to Ghana. He went to he actually encountered specifically Ewe music from Ghana. And so you can see a lot of influence in his compositions. Obviously, they're.
That's a little after the fact. That's like direct. What about?
That's very direct.
What about Ray Charles? What about Billie Holiday?
Oh yeah.
I mean, okay.
In broad terms, I think so. But
even when I
Ewe is
listen
so
to the melodies that we're singing, I'm like, whoa, is blues really just crept up out of the American South, or is there something, did it thread through from this somehow? I mean,
if you go down to New Orleans, right, they say that's the birthplace of jazz, right?
Sure.
It is the birthplace of jazz.
Yeah. And the drum set was invented there, so I mean, you can't have Ray Charles without that.
Exactly.
I don't think you can have Jay-Z without it, No. So, okay.
And back in, during the slave trade, that was a major hub where slaves would come in and be offloaded, and there would always be a lot of African slaves in that area of New Orleans. And New Orleans was very unique because there's a place called Congo Square.
Right.
And the white man allowed the slaves at certain times.
You don't have to look at me like that when you say it.
At certain times of the day or the week to have a time where they can play their music.
Right.
And they played it at Congo Square.
Right.
And that really is one of the catalysts for American jazz. That's where American blues and jazz, came out of. That's where it originated.
Sure.
Being allowed to play their music and have it seep into the American.
I grew up in Appalachia, and so I wasn't really around a lot of bluegrass, but we're proud that bluegrass came from there. And I remember arguing with you that I thought the banjo was like a Scottish-Irish instrument.
It comes from Africa.
It's an African instrument.
It's closer to Gnawa than anything.
When you hear Appalachian folk music, it sounds one way, but when you hear bluegrass music, there's the blues in it, and there's the rhythm sort of thing in it. Now, it's not,
No, but wait, be careful, because Ireland is an exception. And Appalachians were right? Originally Irish colonists or settlers or whatever?
It's a mix, but a lot of Scots-Irish.
And Ireland is an exception,
They have
12/8, and without
absolutely.
being influenced somehow, they figured it out. If it's like in that thing, like how like in the same time period the Native Americans figured out agriculture, and in Mesopotamia without being connected.
Sure.
So maybe there's that too. At the same time, Irish tribesmen figured out the triplet.
What I've studied since then is that Appalachian music changed because they were late to have black people there.
Right.
So when they came, it changed the music, and that ended up being bluegrass, which ended up being country music. So you think of country music as like white music, but when you hear them singing these melodies, and there's the blue note in it, there's this like thing in it. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to really trace back. We don't have a time machine, but
Right.
I don't think it would be the same without this. And a friend of mine says all American music is African American.
I agree, actually.
So, okay, that's
no,
what
I
was
agree
gonna
with
say.
that.
Yeah, and I think that the blues came way before bluegrass.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
And so
doubt.
the blues definitely seeped up into Appalachia, and they heard that, and they definitely based their music off of that. So, there are parts of the blues in bluegrass, and I love bluegrass.
Yeah, it's grooving.
But bluegrass would be nothing without the blues.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
How has this affected your music?
So many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, just to wrap up this topic on learning and the teaching aspect, that it changed my whole approach of music, learning things by ear. After that, anything that I would do, even if it was Western, transcribing or whatever, I would have a different approach and more successful.
Right.
Than before, which was always like using notation. And,
Right.
So that's one thing, and then two, the vocabulary that I acquired of the polyrhythmic language that it offered. it's like an encyclopedia of stuff. So I've used it many times in other projects, and it's and it's endless, meaning that you can never run out of ideas.
We talked on the first episode of the show about dysnomia and what went into that, and there's a lot of the same kind of concepts, I think, involved. I mean, it's modern. You're not, just
right. But inspired by West and North African.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's plenty of composers that were inspired by this specific music.
Yeah.
What about as a percussionist? What about when you do play conga music with Cuban musicians again? Do you hear it different than you used to? I mean, it's hard to remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely grew. I grew as a musician learning this music, absolutely. Learning how to, manipulate the time of, coming in at a different part of the bar and playing a rhythm, a hemiola rhythm over it. We're talking about Western terminology here. But, it definitely, like, shook my brain up and made it a hodgepodge of rhythms. And
for me, a melodic instrument, it's like phrasing. It's completely different. Like one is not what it used to be for me anymore after this, And I'm playing the bell. I'm trying to remember where one is, but still, when I hear the drum, the lead right beside me, the phrases are not based on that meter like that. This Western.
They rarely start or finish on one.
Right.
Because for them, one is boring. It's already the bell is one.
Yeah.
All the bell is considered one, so that's it. So that everything has its place, and it's brilliant.
Sorry.
Kinia.
Yeah.
Kinia.
Yeah.
Afiki Adala.
Adala Zome.
Afiki Adala.
Adala Zome.
Ibe po buya miagbe.
Miagbe.
Beautiful Jimik po.
Horrible.
Horrible.
Aji soy.
Aji soy. Aji soy.
Kinia.
Yeah.
Kinia.
Yeah.
Afiki Adala.
Adala Zome.
Ibe po mo miagbe.
Miagbe.
Beautiful Jimik po. Turira lume tekbe korema dogbe a. So turira lume e korema dogbe o. Kinia.
Yeah.
Turira lume tekbe korema dogbe a. So turira lume e korema dogbe o. Ezo pele kuto be yeko a. Dena bla dena nia. Ezo pele kuto be yeko a. Dena bla dena nia. Turira lume tekbe korema dogbe a. So turira lume e korema dogbe o.
Horrible.
Horrible.
Aji soy.
Aji
Aji
soy.
soy.
Aji
Aji
soy.
soy.
Menu, bode menu mamisu, milawe. Bode menu mamisu, milawe ae ae milawe. Abuela domea, abuela domea, abuela domea, abuela domea. Enzo cabolo masopoa, abolo tahotomea. Vecino yo me totoe, ora ea, ae milawe. Kinia,
Yeah.
Kinia,
Yeah.
Afiki Adala,
Adala Zome.
Afiki Adala.
Adala Zome.
Ibe po go miagbe.
Miagbe.
Beautiful Jimik po. Enyu bode menu mamisu, milawe. Bode menu mamisu, milawe ae ae milawe. Abuela domea, abuela domea, abuela domea, abuela domea. Enzo cabolo masopoa, abolo tahotomea. Vecino yo me totoe, ora ea, ae milawe.
when I first heard this music, I heard the bell as being gung 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 1 2 3
Right.
4 5 6 1 2 3, and someone had to say no. Gung 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 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. What is the significance about that? We talked about it before, but the 3 versus, or hearing it in 4 or 12/8 versus hearing it in 3 or 6, which is kind of a duple sort of Western.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah. Let's just clarify something. You go to Ghana, they're not going to be like 1 2 dun 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 dun. You know, they don't think of it that way. Obviously,
Exactly.
it's a
But
Western.
the dance, that's where I always tell people, if you're not sure, look at the dance. The 3s are there, the 6s are there, 8s are there too, but at the end, who are they dancing? They're either dancing in 2 or 4.
Right.
And that's it. So sometimes actually they are pieces where they clap 6, but they're clapping 6. These are all polyrhythms.
Sure.
For them, it's a rhythm. It's not the pulse.
Right.
The pulse is 4. So then it's the 6 against 4 when they're all clapping 6.
So it's a kind of in 12 and 4 and 6 and 3.
It's in
and-
everything, but
yeah.
4 is because it's misleading to say it's in everything. It's not, because of the perception. You know that very well. When in your mind, all of a sudden you perceive it in 3. You feel the subdivision as 1 2 3 4 5 6.
Right.
It's a different feeling
Sure.
than 1 2 3 da, da, da.
Right.
So it's not. It's misleading to say it's in all of them. It's just that there are many polyrhythms where the mother polyrhythm would be 4. And then there's the children. You have 6 in it. You have 8, but none of them can ever be the fundamental pulse because the dance shows it.
Let's talk about this ensemble for a second. We got to New York in 2009, and I kind of thought, well, that was fun. We did the Ewe music in California, but we kept it going, and it's now 2021, and we're still playing this music. We just performed today. How did that happen? Like,
I don't know. I mean, we just love the music.
yeah.
Well,
but-
I mean, like the B200, which was the room where we played the where we played the Ewe music in Cal Arts, was a hang for us, right? It was a place where everybody can come together and socialize, the camaraderie there, and play some amazing rhythms. And like when we got there, we knew it was gonna be a good time and a fun time.
Exactly.
And you know, when we leave Cal Arts, it's sad because you know we're also leaving that hang behind. And I think that at least for me, you know, I was nostalgic and I wanted to feel that again.
Right.
And if I have some of my closest friends in New York City that have the drums and we want to play, we're going to play and we're going to hang.
Because this isn't pickup jazz. You can't just find a guy. Like,
No.
oh man, the guy can't do the gig. Let me see if I can find another bass player. This is music that you have to get into it for a while before you can even hang. How is it taught? When I teach kids beginning saxophone or clarinet or whatever, first thing I do is teach them how to put the instrument together and how to play 3 notes, and then I teach them a little watered down version of Mary Had a Little Lamb on 3 notes. Is that how it works in Ghana with Ewe?
I mean, like we were saying, it's oral tradition.
Right.
So you learn through listening, like you said. You're first just watching the elders play.
And then you get a
Until
drum
you-
and you learn the rhythms?
Yeah, and then
But
you learn
don't
the
you learn,
rhythms.
isn't there an interim step? Don't you learn syllables in order to, how are you,
It
how are
comes
you taught
together
this?
usually. It's
Yeah.
That's at the same time. Syllables and the rhythm is unified like that.
Right.
Actually, there's a funny thing. There's an interview of Alfred Lazekpo, our mentor, who taught us all this music, and he talks about intervals. And first of all, first time you hear him, you're like, okay, he's talking about, because he does this, and he's like intervals. So what do you think?
I think minor second, minor third, major third.
Exactly. We all think of melodic
fourth.
interval, and then he's like, and then you have this. There's this, and he wasn't talking about melody. He was talking about time interval, and
Yeah.
it blew my mind one day when I saw this interview where he breaks that down, and that's really the key to it. When you open your ears to wanting to learn this music, you listen for the intervals of time, because all the chicken feet, like he called it, which is the 8th notes, and Western music notation, you can throw that out the window.
Yeah.
All you're gonna rely on is intervals. You'll hear how much time went by between that and oh, it's a little longer. So okay, now it's in your body. You remember that interval in your body, and then that's it. You'll never forget it. It's like learning the bicycle because you learned intervals of time.
Yeah, and I would say, getting back to what you were asking about, how they learn it in Ghana. Usually, I've seen this and I've experienced this, and I would assume that this is the way they do it is, you start on the bell, and you play the bell, and you play the bell for a long time. You might go a year on the bell before you can actually go to a
How many
drum.
have I gone?
I'm not even sure. But I think
the
you're ready
most
to go.
important role, so
So it is the most important role, but the key is, right, it's like, because that's the key, right?
Right.
And that's what all the music's based off of. If you can play the bell and listen to a different drum and what they're doing,
Right.
and listen to how it corresponds with the bell, you'll be able to learn
Sure.
the part. And so that's
So it's not promised that you're going to be able to do everything that everybody else is going to be able to do, because it's kind of how Western music is promised here, right?
no.
Like we tell our kids, you're all going to be able to play these songs by the end of the year. but
Yeah. No.
You have to kind of graduate.
You have to earn it.
Yeah. When I was there, it was mixed. You had kids
Where
that
did you-
were
where did you-
amazing. I went to Anyako, where our teacher Alfred is from, where he was residing, and I went to visit him, and I saw every day amazing kids that can play the stuff amazingly, and
Yeah.
kids that cannot even play bell right. There's all sorts, because that's to show how complex this music is. It's not because they're West African that they have them in their blood. That's in a way a little racist. I'm
It's
gonna
racist,
say it's
I
thinking,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a it's like quantum physics in a way.
Right.
Not all Westerners are quantum physicists.
Right.
Like, exactly, same thing.
Or
So like
Mozart or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So only the people that are really talented and that get into it. I saw it all, even adults, and Alfred is like throwing sticks at them, can't even hang with the bell. And then you have adults that have that stuff in their bones. So, or kids, all ages, you have it mixed. Yeah.
Is it taught like spelled out? Like wait, it's 1, 2 and a 3, 4 and a. Let's slow it down and teach you 2. How's it taught? Because it blew my mind when I first sat down. I thought these guys aren't even teaching; they're just like expecting me to get it. And then I realized, wait a minute, this is absolutely an education, but it's a different kind of education. We've all taught a lot
Yeah.
of kids. Like, what's the difference there?
I've seen it in Ghana, where they would.
Because if a kid can't get something when I'm teaching them, I slow it down and explain it to them.
you don't beat it out of
It's
them.
the end. It's the end of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a.
Yeah,
Or
so
1, 2, 3, 4 and I make sure that they understand it first before we try it again. Is it done like that in Ghana?
No, I would say that they break the ensemble into a smaller ensemble. So it would be one drum with the bell, and like I said, whoever's learning the drum part will be playing the bell.
Right.
And he would play the drum part, and as soon as the person, okay, I can do it, they switch and they play it. They correct each other, or whatever.
But it's a less intellectual. It's like it's an experiential.
It's experience.
I don't mean less
Completely
intellectual.
experiential, yeah.
It's completely intricate as
No,
anything else, like
absolutely, yeah.
Beethoven.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
an
And all
experiential
oral.
learning.
All oral.
Yeah, right. Where would you go to find this music if you didn't know anything about it? What would you look up? I mean, it's kind of, even knowing it, I have a hard time finding it sometimes.
Well, it's hard. There's not that many high quality
BedStuy
recordings.
Ewe.
Mostly in
Away.com,
schools,
is that-
actually. Mostly in universities are where you're going to find this
Yeah.
music. For some reason, and I think QASIM, that the place that I went to, plays a big role in this.
But there's Legon also,
Legon,
which is in Accra.
Yeah.
That's like the big. That's where actually Alfred would teach when he was 16. Like
but I'm talking
it
about the
started-
universities, how it came to the
university
universities.
in Legon, and
Okay.
they did that stuff you were talking about. I think maybe Kopiak it was later. Maybe
In the
I
United
don't know.
States, you're talking about. They came to the United States.
Yeah, and then there was that whole like whatever you call it partnership.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
for some reason, this specific music, like you're not going to go to many schools and find Senegalese sabar music,
Okay.
or Moroccan Ganawa music. For some reason, Ewe music made its way into.
I'll cut it. Trying to have a romantic moment.
for some reason, Ewe music made it into the United States
Academic.
college and academic
I know, like
world.
Eastman has a big program.
A lot in the
Eastman,
East Coast.
Art School of Music,
Yeah.
down in
Boston.
Boston, yeah, Cal Arts,
Berkeley.
Midwest.
Right.
There's a ton of schools in the Midwest that have it now.
CK Ladzikpo, it's Alfred
CK,
nephew.
yeah.
He's in Berkeley, in California.
Huh, okay. Anything else we talk about?
What else?
Yeah, you know more than I do.
I'm trying to think.
I like asking dummy questions because people don't know about this shit. You know what I mean? So, but
Well, I guess maybe something that kind of made me a little sad when I was there, and it's also going to be kind of like advice to people to preserve any kind of culture that they love. So it doesn't have to be Ewe, but find a culture that you really like and try to do what we're doing and preserve it. Because when I was there, it's kind of dying. Alfred is kind of a loner
afraid you were
there
gonna
in
say
terms of representing this music. He's the chief, whatever, or he's respected, there's no doubt. But whenever it comes to this, like, people are like, oh, it's the old people's music.
Right.
They want the young stuff.
it's hard to find bluegrass
very-
where I'm from.
Yeah, and a lot of Christianization, I don't know if that's a word, but yeah, like, so people are going more to church and singing church songs
Right.
instead of these. It's sad. Because at some point, if the kids don't keep it, then all the people of Alfred's age pass on, this music will die.
Well,
So it was sad.
thanks to your thousands of hours of practice, we documented a small piece of it today, and so thanks for doing that. Thanks for being on the show, and it's a really great concert. And
Thanks, Ocean.
love you guys. You know,
Love you, man.
We never know. We keep having friends who are having babies and getting married.
Yeah.
We never know how long we're going to be able to do this, but
Yeah.
it's a real joy in my life. It's changed more than just my music. It's changed the way I see life and the world and other people and myself, and you know, it's very humbling.
I'm gonna keep on playing this when I have a baby, and my baby is gonna be playing this
Oh,
as
Yeah,
well.
that's the way to do it.